Hey, Cookies here. In this series, I make a preservation evoker and play it without any previous experience on the class. I also won't be joining a guild or playing with anyone that I know. So everything has to be done through pugging with strangers in LFG. Lastly, I won't be able to link any of my current or previous achievements from other characters I have while seeing how far I can get on this evoker in Season 1 of Dragonflight. Also, just a preface, the first episode or so of the series, the microphone quality is a little bad, but I did end up fixing it, so I apologize in advance for that. Okay, now we have that stuff set up. Let's go ahead and look at our abilities that they've given us so far to start with, and we'll go ahead and place these in the most reasonable spots for now that makes sense for once we start healing. So we're going to start with Living Flame, send a flickering flame towards your target, dealing fire damage or healing an ally. So this is a heal and a damage spell. So I'm assuming that this is gonna come down to being like our, if we were playing like a priest, for instance, it's gonna kind of be like our smite and our flash heal. So that's kind of tricky of where I want to put that. I'm tempted to put it on 1 because that's where I usually have my damage spell, but 3 is where I would normally put my kind of spammable heal. So for now, let's go ahead and keep that on 1, and then we'll maybe change it up later. And then this is just an instant cast damage onto enemies. So we'll go ahead and put this on something like A, because that's what I usually use for like a movement-based damage spell that's instant cast and stuff like that, like Frost Shock on a Resto Shaman, for instance. And then let's see, with a powerful flap of your wings, knock enemies away from you. So that's going to be Shift A, because that's what I have Typhoon on when I play Resto Druid. Tail Swipe, knocking enemies up within 8 yards. For AoE stuns and stuff like that, I usually use X. And there's one more add-on that we need to adjust, which is the GCD thing. So that'll show up over here. We can fix our details windows. And there we go. Cool. Perfect. All right, let's go ahead and get started on this. I wonder if I have any other abilities here. Looks like they gave us everything. Just Glide is on here, which we can put on Shift Spacebar. I guess it's technically already on spacebar because we don't have a double jump, so I don't actually need that keybound. Cool. I think everything else is all good, so let's go ahead and get started. Oh, this is a really cool shot. We're going to go ahead and take a screenshot here for the intro. We have like a cool pan down, like, oh yeah, that looks really good. So we'll go like this, get close, and then we'll go. Alright, so we cast Living Flame to do damage, and then as we need to dodge stuff, we can use Azure Strike to keep doing damage while moving. Looks like these guys are neutral, so I don't actually need to attack. Oh, okay, well. And then they want us to cast a new ability, so we have Disintegrate and Fire Breath. So Disintegrate, tear into an enemy with a blast of blue magic, inflicting spell damage and slowing movement speed. And that is a channeled spell for Essence. So we'll probably put that on... Oh man, that's tough. For now, we'll just... It's obviously giving us DPS spells, because it's having us play or level as... Devastation, so what we will do, but it looks like, I guess these are spells that both will have eventually, so I guess that's important to mention. Let's see, so this is a channeled slow, that's so odd. Hmm. think we might just do... Maybe we'll do Shift A and move our knockback to Shift X, even though that's definitely a weird key binding for it. Not used to that. And then Fire Breath, Inhale. Okay, this is like the big frontal ability, yeah, and then you press it again and then it blows up. And that's like a big cooldown. I think there's a healing variant of that, so what we'll do is we'll put this on Shift 5, and then the healing version will be on 5, because I think the healing version is like a very similar spell, but I could be wrong on that. So we'll have that on Shift 5, we'll have Disintegrate on Shift A, which looks like this. Alright, looks like it wants us to learn how to soar, so I think we get like a little sneak peek into dragon riding here, right? That's what this is, soar? Or is this a different ability? Yeah, this is what turns into dragon riding. Okay, cool. Oh no, it wants us to go through the rings. I wasn't ready for this. Oh no. Is it gonna let me go? Oh, wait. We gotta press these buttons. There we go. Okay, we did it. That was really awkward. I was not ready for that. What are we gonna have this key bound to, though, is the question. Probably just one of my alt buttons or something. Control spacebar. That sounds fine. What about diving? Okay, so it's gonna literally like teach us how to dragon ride. Cool. Alright, so we go control spacebar. And then it changes our abilities. We dive down. Where's the last one? Is there... Wait, what? Oh, I was way up here. Just doing this all incorrectly.
Let us begin. Remain steadfast.
Now it says play with it at your leisure. Is that what it says? Now I go this way. Here we go. We'll fly up, and then we'll dive down. Surge forward to get a burst of speed. Surge forward again. And then dive down. Cool. That's it.
Any new discoveries?
Practice soar.
And strong winds, Evoker.
Now, do they just want me to go? Alright, here we go. Oh, that's it. Fly up. Fly around. Very cool. Very, very cool. Oh, check this out. I get to fly over to our new questing location. Oh, this is so cool. Dragon riding is going to be so fun in Dragonflight. I cannot wait. This is going to be so good. It's going to be so much more interactive and stuff. Ooh, we get a healing spell. Nice. Emerald Blossom. Grow a bulb from the Emerald Dream at an ally's location. After 2 seconds, heal up to 3 injured allies within 10 yards, and it's a 30-second cooldown ability. So this is going to be pretty much our, it seems like our kind of default AoE heal on a cooldown. So I would probably put this on something like Shift 3 is where I usually have like Efflorescence on Druid. I have, let's see, what else do I normally have there? I have Healing Rain as Resto Shaman, and Power Word Radiance as a Discipline Priest, and Prayer of Healing as a Holy Priest, so stuff like that. So it's just an AoE heal in general. So we'll put that there for now. Again, things are probably going to get moved around as we actually get all of our abilities, and I'm like, oh, this makes more sense to put on that button, actually, but for now, this is what we'll go with. So it looks like it wants us to go like this. Oh, it cast it at our location, so I think for that, I need to make a macro of @mouse, or is it at an ally's, oh, at an ally's location. Okay, so I need to target one of them with it and then cast it. That makes sense. Can I heal them up like this? Cool, that works too. Heal this guy with that. There we go. And then we'll heal these guys one more time just to make sure the mouse over works properly. We'll target this guy with it. There we go. And then it blows up. Cool. Soar Enhancer. Oh, okay. Oh, it's just a flight path.
Keep your talons sharp and your breath hot. Looks
Deep
like we got a
breath.
fight on our hands. Fair skies.
I know
I'm already
you
almost
will
level
be
60. This is
before,
absolutely wild.
but
All right, deep breath. Oh, and we get hover. So for hover, we put that on Shift T. That's where I usually have my like move while casting abilities, which the only other real healer that has it is Shaman, I think, with Spirit Walker's Grace. And then deep breath. Take a deep breath and fly to the target location. Spewing molten cinders, dealing damage, removes all root effects. You're immune to movement impairing effects and loss of control effects while flying. So maybe this one was the one I was thinking of being Fire Breath. So I think we put this on Shift 5 because there's a healing version of Deep Breath that also is like a 2 or 3 minute cooldown. So we put Deep Breath on Shift 5. And then we move Fire Breath to something else, which would probably be like... I have no idea. It's like an AoE damage spell. It's usually Shift A for me on some other healers. So we could put Disintegrate on like Control A, I guess. Because that's where I have like Lightning Bolt as a Resto Shaman. That's the only other healer I can really think of. So we'll just do that for now. That'll be our 3 main damage abilities is on the A buttons with modifiers. Alright, and now it just wants us to go down here and do stuff, which there are elites, so I do not want to die. But we'll go ahead and just jump down here and see what we can do. What kind of havoc we can cause. Alright, let's go ahead and use this new ability. Yep, very cool. This is one of the abilities I actually pressed on the beta. Again, when I played the beta, it was literally I made an evoker, put buttons on my bars, like I kind of got a general read through them and put them on my bar, and then I pressed them like maybe once or twice each, and then never played the character again because I decided it would be better to do this series. Ooh, we get to pick our spec. Let's go. And we are picking Preservation. Looks like we get to hit level 60 right then. Very nice.
We will.
So that probably gives us a bunch of new buttons to put on our bar, like all at once. Yep. So let's go ahead and do that. So we have Blessing of the Bronze. This is our like raid buff ability. So I just put this on 0 because that's where I usually put that stuff. It has a cooldown though. Okay, and then we have Fury of the Aspects. This is our Bloodlust ability. So this will go on Shift F1 because that's where I put my Bloodlust. So it's out of reach and I don't accidentally press it. And then we have, let's see, Verdant Embrace. Fly to an ally and heal them for 5,000. So I'd probably just put this on something like Life Grip or like where I have my Wild Charge, I guess. For Resto Druid. Yeah, we'll go ahead and put this on... I'll put it on F. F is where I normally have like Life Grip. Oh, and there's our Weak Aura starting to pop up as well. So that's all the basic evoker abilities. Now we have the actual preservation abilities. So Dream Breath, that's what I was talking about earlier. It's just the opposite of... Oh, maybe it is actually the opposite of Fire Breath. Yeah, okay, it is. So we would put this on 5, and then Fire Breath would go on Shift 5, and then Deep Breath can go on something else. So Deep Breath, since it's such a long cooldown, we could put that on Control A, so we could keep Disintegrate on Shift A. And then Control A is just like, okay, now I have a big cooldown. It's not a super easy button to press with the control modifier, but we don't need it to be easy to press since because of that. So still not letting me use Fire Breath though, so we got to figure that out at some point. All right, Echo. Wrap an ally with temporal energy, healing them for 2,000 and causing your next non-echo healing spell to cast an additional time on that ally at 70% of normal healing. So I would probably put this on like a button like 4 or Shift 4. I don't know for sure which one we're going to do yet. We'll start with 4 because that's where I have stuff like Riptide, Rejuvenation, Swiftmend's on like Shift 4. So it's kind of that like instant heal ability that then buffs our next spell. So Swiftmend does that. On Resto Shaman, I usually have Unleash Life on Shift 4. So this is probably going to end up being a Shift 4 button rather than 4. So for now, we'll... Trying to think, because we are going to have more buttons to use. So yeah, let's just get used to having it on Shift 4, and then it still leaves that 4 open for something else. All right, and then we have mass return. This is our mass res, so we'll just also put this down here on our bar, like so. And then we have naturalize, cleanse. This is our 8-second cleanse, so we'll go ahead and put that on Shift 1. That's where I always have my cleanse. And then Essence Burst, Living Flame has a 20% chance to make your next Essence ability free. That's pretty awesome. So that means that we'll probably be casting, like when we were trying to do damage, we're going to be pressing Living Flame to do damage to something, and then when we get that proc of allowing our next Essence ability to be free, that's probably when we use something like Disintegrate. So you only disintegrate when you get those procs from Living Flame, is what it seems like. And then we have Mastery Lifeliner. Healing done to allies is increased by 20% while their health percentage is lower than your own. That's pretty interesting. I like that. And that is it for our abilities for now. I'm assuming we will have more. It probably just hasn't unlocked them all yet, because that seems like not very many buttons to press. And we still have talents, which we aren't in the talent tree yet, so I guess that's a big part of it, is the talents, probably. That's where most of our abilities are going to come from. All right. On to the next part.
We get to use all our new abilities now. We fly to this guy and heal him. We heal this guy. We heal this guy. Go like this. And we can just spam this too, because it just costs stuff. Well, why did that heal multiple people just now? How did that work? So I went like this, and then I healed, and then I healed like everybody. And what's this proc? This is the free essence ability cast. Oh, now our dream breath isn't working either, so neither of our breath abilities are working with action bar stuff. Interesting. Okay, and that makes that button free. So that's probably what we use the procs the most on for healing, at least, is the dream, the Emerald Blossom. Yeah, because that's OP. You can just lay out like multiple Emerald Blossoms and do a bunch of burst healing. And what's our non-essence abilities? Like, what other non-essence abilities do I have? Because it copies it. Okay, it'll copy the dash. It'll copy our breath. Is that why? Doesn't copy that one. Will it copy fire breath? No. What does it do exactly? Let's see this again. Causing your next non-echo healing spell to cast an additional time on that ally. So that's basically our Living Flame. And that's all that it'll copy right now because we don't have any other healing spells. So just Living Flame and maybe Dream Breath. Let's try that. Let's do this and then a Dream Breath. Let's see if that copies. It probably will. Yeah, okay, that's super strong. It just does a big heal over time, and it copied twice. Cool. And then it'll also copy this, but that's not incredibly useful, but it might be good for like single target burst healing or something. Cool. Oh yeah, and then we also have Hover, which is this thing. Lets us cast while moving, which is actually incredibly nice. It's a very low cooldown too, only 30 seconds, so it's really good. Oh, and these procs will work on Echo as well. That's really cool too.
Get to the point.
Alrighty, we have arrived in Oribos, and now we're going to go ahead and take a look at our talent trees. So I think the way that I'm going to do this, just to have a little bit of fun, is there's probably already talent trees online of like a guide of, you know, what you should run during pre-patch, but I'm going to go ahead and go through it myself and just try to figure out what I think would be the best for something like Mythic Plus, and then we will go to a guide and then kind of like copy paste that build over and compare it to what we ended up with, if that makes sense. So let's go ahead and do that. All right, so going into the talent tree, let's start with just the default evoker tree, I guess. So the way that I usually do talent trees, if I'm looking at a class that I don't know, I mean, typically I guess I just copy like the like meta builds, but of course we're not going to do that right off the bat. We're going to do that afterwards. So what I would do is I would look at the bottom row and look at the capstone talents, which capstone talents are the ones that are at the very bottom. It's the ones that you end up, you know, wanting to go for in the long run. And that usually gives you a good idea of what you're going to get along the way following down that path. So we'll go ahead and look at these. So we have Terror of the Skies, Deep Breath stuns enemies for 3 seconds. And then we can kind of look at a couple that are close. Fire Breath causes your next Living Flame to strike 1 additional target per Empower level. Unravel, sunder an enemy's protective magic, dealing 10,000 damage to absorb shields. So this is good, particularly against absorbs. Azure Strike strikes 1 additional enemy. Oppressing Roar. Increasing the duration of crowd control effects that affect them by 50% in the next 10 seconds. That's very good. Fire Breath damage over time lasts 2 seconds longer. So far, this all looks very good for AoE. Deep Breath is an extra stun, it has a longer stun duration on it. We get extra targets with our cleave spells. We get absorb shield damage. We get extra targets on our cleave spells. We get extra crowd control. But then let's go ahead and look at the middle one. So Time Spiral, bend time, allowing you and your allies to cast their major movement ability once in the next 10 seconds, even if it's on cooldown. So not particularly useful, but this seems to be more like utility focused down the middle row. And then the last one, we have Zephyr, conjure an updraft to lift you and your 4 nearest allies within 20 yards into the air, reducing damage taken from area of effect attacks by 20% and increasing movement speed by 30% for 8 seconds. That seems like another utility row, which seems very good in raid and maybe okay in dungeons because it could save you from really heavy hitting boss abilities and stuff like that. Green spells restore 5% more health. Emerald Blossom instantly heals you when cast. Emerald Blossom heals 2 additional allies, which normally, it's 3? Heal up to 3 injured allies. Heal yourself with Living Flame, reduces the cast time of your next Living Flame. So this seems very raid. I would say like this row is very raid focused. It's a lot of increased healing and healing benefits and like AoE focused stuff around mostly healing. So I'm going to go down the left row because that seems like the most damage oriented, and that's what we're going to go for to start with, is a Mythic Plus build, because we're not going to be raiding right away. I'll probably do some pug raids in this series, but for now we're going to do Mythic Plus. And I want to just see how much damage this class can do, essentially. So for Mythic Plus, we're going to try to see how much damage we can do. So we're going to work our way down this left path and get to here, and then we'll spend extra points elsewhere. So we'll start with Landslide, 1.5 minute cooldown, conjure a path of shifting stone toward the target location, rooting enemies for 30 seconds. Damage may cancel the effect. So it doesn't do damage, it just roots, it looks like. But it unlocks these other ones, like Disintegrate Channels 20% faster. That seems very good. Landslide's cooldown is reduced by 30 seconds, and it can withstand 200% more damage before breaking. So it does seem pretty useful. Essences regenerate 5% faster, and we get an Interrupt. All right. Let's see. So this is, we're definitely going to want this. This is Reinforced. This is like our defensive cooldown, so we'll take Obsidian Scales. And then your damaging blue spells reduce the target's movement speed. That seems pretty useful. And we get an extra charge of Obsidian Scales, so we definitely take that just right away, because damage reduction in Mythic Plus is really useful. And then while we're here, we're just looking at the other nearby ones. So Living Flame deals 3% more damage and healing. We're going to obviously want that. Store 20% of your effective healing. Your next damaging Living Flame consumes all sword healing to increase its damage dealt. That seems like an obvious take. And then I know Cauterizing Flame is good because this is an additional cleanse on top of our other cleanse, and it can remove bleed effects, which is absolutely nuts. And then we're not going to work anyway. We're not going to work anymore downward because we're going to end up running out of points before we can get to Terror of the Skies. So we're going to go back this way. Do we want the Disintegrate channels 20% faster and Landslide? Landslide doesn't seem particularly useful. It seems good for like tank kiting and stuff like that. But for now, I think we'll skip it. And we'll just go this because essences regenerating faster will be useful. And then we can take our interrupt here, and that gets us the same, you know, way over here, and we don't need to take these talents over here. Let's see, recall. You may reactivate Deep Breath within 3 seconds after landing to travel back in time to your takeoff location. That seems pretty decent so that we don't end up putting ourselves in a bad spot. Let's see what else this does. Wing Buffet's cooldown, or Buffet, yeah, Wing Buffet's cooldown, and Tail Swipe cooldown. We're definitely going to want the Tail Swipe cooldown because that's more useful than a knockback. I think that a AoE like knockup is definitely better than a knockback. So we'll go ahead and take that in the middle row. And then this is also a point that lets us just go down this row too. So your magic damage done is increased by 2%. We'll want that, so we can take that now. Successfully interrupting an enemy with Quell generates 1 essence. That seems good. Fire Breath damage over time lasts 2 seconds longer, up to 4 seconds. Cool, we take that, and now we need to break off and get some points elsewhere, which we'll probably end up taking this. Compress time to make your next empowered spell cast instant and its maximum empowerment level. That's incredibly good, so we definitely take that. And then let's see. For now, we'll skip recall and just see what else we can land with. Your stamina is increased. This is probably going to be something we definitely want. Damage, magic damage taken reduced by 2%. And hover lasts 2 seconds longer. All right. Let's see what this goes down to. Source of magic. Redirect your excess magic to a friendly healer for 30 minutes. When you cast an empowered spell, you restore part of their mana, so this isn't very useful for raid or anything like that. So I think we'll wait because some dungeons there's not going to be very much at all magic damage. So we're not going to take this. We're going to go this way instead and get the increased stamina. Because increased stamina, however, is going to always be useful. Like, we're always going to need health. Health is always a resource being used. So we'll go ahead and take that. And then while above 75% health, your movement speed is increased by 10%. That's pretty good, but we'll wait to take that since we're already down here. This damages 1 additional enemy. We definitely want that. More enemies hit by our damaging spells is good. And Unravel was the extra damage to shields. And it's a 9-second cooldown, instant cast. I'm wondering, it looks like it doesn't do anything if they don't have an absorb shield though. So if we're not against something with an absorb shield, then it's completely useless. So I think this is something you would talent into if you're doing a specific dungeon or boss or something like that where there are absorb shields that need to be dealt with. So we'll go ahead and wait and take that one. Or wait to take that one. Fire Breath causes your next Living Flame to strike 1 additional target per empowerment level, and Living Flame is our just regular spam cast, so we definitely want that. And there we go, we get Terror of the Skies, and we have 3 points left over. So Oppressing Roar, this is the one that increases crowd control effects, and Oppressing Roar removes 1 enrage effect from each enemy, and its cooldown is reduced by 20 seconds for each enraged dispel. That is incredibly strong. What else can we get though? Let's look at these other close ones. So we can get Hover increases our movement speed. Hover lasts longer, which is both really useful. Your healing done and healing received are increased by 2%. That's also very useful. And Sleepwalk, disorient an enemy for 20 seconds, causing them to sleepwalk towards you. Damage has a chance to awaken them. So it's another crowd control ability. Seems useful. But, yeah, this is tricky because I think Bountiful Bloom is really good. Being able to heal all 5 allies would be really powerful. But taking Oppressing Roar and Overawe is really, really strong. But I like the increased healing received, and then we could also take Bountiful Bloom just for extra healing. But I think for now, since we're going to be pugging on this character so much, and we don't have all of our talent points available, we'll take this for now, right here. So we'll take increased healing received and healing done. And then Emerald Blossom now heals everybody in the party except for just 3 people. And then when we get more talent points in Dragonflight, we can probably end up taking this stuff anyways. So we'll do that for now. And now we go into the Preservation Tree. and we will go ahead and look through some of this stuff. So same thing, we're going to look at the bottom row and kind of see what seems to fit the best for the playstyle that we want to go for. So we have Dream Flight. Take in a deep breath and fly to the targeted location, healing allies in your path for 4,500 immediately. Removes all root effects. You're immune. Okay, so this is literally deep breath, but a healing version because it's 2 minutes as well. So seems strong, but it seems like more of a raid ability, like at first glance. So we'll go ahead and look at the other ones. So Cycle of Life. Every 3 Emerald Blossoms leaves behind a tiny sprout, which gathers 15% of your healing over 10 seconds. The sprout then heals allies within 30 yards, divided evenly among targets. Cool. So every 3 Emerald Blossoms, we basically get a small Cloudburst totem, which is from Shaman, Resto Shaman. That's the easiest way I can think of it. So that seems really strong right off the bat. And then let's see the last one, Stasis. Causes your next 3 helpful spells to be duplicated and stored in a time lock. You may reactivate Stasis anytime within 30 seconds to quickly unleash their magic. That seems good too. So we're going to look at the ones that are kind of closely tied to these and see what they offer us. So Reversion, Time Dilation, and Echo last 15% longer. That seems very strong. Time of Need, when you are an ally fall below 20% health, a version of yourself enters the timeline and heals them. Your alternate self continues healing for 8 seconds before returning to their timeline. That seems really good. So it's not really a cheat death, but it's a good activation effect, which probably will go off a lot in Mythic Plus because there's a lot of close calls and stuff like that that ends up happening. Disintegrate deals 20% more damage and generates 1,000 mana over its duration. That's really good. More damage is something to look out for in these healer talent trees because that's what we'll end up wanting to go for. And this is pretty close to this, so it looks like we may end up going for Stasis instead of Cycle of Life like I thought we would, but let's keep looking. Okay, so let's look at Empower Spells, cause time to flow 5% faster for you, increase in movement speed, cooldown, and cast speed. Okay, this is really good. This whole side is like very, very strong. Absorb, damage absorb, that's big too. Echo replicates more healing. This side just looks so good for Mythic Plus. So let's look at Cycle of Life in the middle row. So your healing is increased by 5% on targets with Reversion. Actually don't even know what Reversion is right now, but we'll figure that out. I'm sure it's something up here. So each ally healed by Emerald Blossom or Dream Breath gain a stack of Ouroboros, increasing your next Echo's direct healing, stacking up to 20 times. Your Empower spells maximum level is increased by 1. That sounds very good for the damage spells. Rewind has 2 charges. Rewind's cooldown is reduced. Verdant Embrace temporarily bonds your life with an ally, causing healing of healing either of you. Receive also heal at the bond. Okay, so it's basically like a short beacon of light that you get on people. Living Flame and Fire Breath deal additional damage and healing equal to 1% of your maximum health. Fire Breath heals a nearby injured ally. Man, this is tough. I want to go Cycle of Life because I just like the playstyle of it more, but I feel like Stasis is going to definitely be better just because of Energy Loop. But I'm wondering if we can make it all the way down to Energy Loop and then still move over to Cycle of Life. Let's start working our way down and just see where we can end up. Alright, so let's see. So we have Reversion. This is going to be an automatic take just because it unlocks so much of the tree. Repair an ally's injuries, healing them for 4,000 over 12 seconds. When Reversion critically heals, its duration is extended. So this is pretty much like a little Riptide, honestly. So this will definitely go on 4, and then Echo will stay on shift 4. So we're going to move our buttons on our bars and stuff after we go through the talents, probably. All right, and then we have Rewind. Rewind 50% of damage taken in the last 5 seconds by all allies within 40 yards. Always heals for at least 2,500. And its healing is increased by 100% when not in a raid. That's very important to look at because that makes it a very strong ability in Mythic Plus. So we take Rewind. Time Dilation. Stretch time around an ally for the next 8 seconds, causing 50% of the damage they would take instead to be dealt over time. That is incredibly good for Mythic Plus. Time Dilation, very strong. Essence Burst stacks 2 times. What is Essence Burst? Living Flame has a 20% chance to make your Essence ability free. So that's also very strong. We were looking at that while leveling. And then we still need another point, so we're forced to take literally everything anyways. So we take Temporal Compression. Each cast of a bronze spell causes your next Empower spell to reach maximum level in 5% less time, stacking up to 4 times. Spirit Bloom, divert spiritual energy, healing an ally for 9,000, splits to injured allies within 30 yards when empowered. Seems pretty good, but we'll wait to take that. Emerald Blossom sends out one flying seedling when it bursts, healing allies up to 40 yards away for 1,000. Fire Breath heals a nearby injured ally by 40% of the damage done. We definitely want that. And Living Flame and Fire Breath deal additional damage. We take that. And let's see what else we can go to. Time Dilation was this 50% damage thing. So Time Dilation deals 70% of damage taken. Oh my gosh. And its cooldown is reduced. It's already a 1 minute cooldown, so I really don't know if that's necessary. I think I would just rather take 70% damage reduction. That's pretty huge. We're just going to do that for now. And then let's see, Temporal Anomaly. Send forward a vortex of temporal energy, absorbing damage. Yep, damage absorbs big. And it shields one additional target each time it pulses. Yeah, we'll do each additional target every time it pulses. And then Empower spells cause time to flow faster. We want that. We got to start really working our way down because we're kind of stuck halfway through the middle of a tree. So Reversion has 2 charges. We have 2 more points to spend. We probably take this right here. Spirit Bloom seems really good, so we'll take Spirit Bloom. And then what else do we get? Emerald Communion. Commune with the Emerald Dream, restoring 20% health and 2% mana. Overhealing is transferred to a nearby injured ally. Seems pretty good. Spirit Bloom increases your essence regeneration rate by 100% for 8 seconds, or its cooldown is reduced. So we'll go ahead and do the essence regeneration, since that also can, you know, potentially count for damage. Since I believe, if I'm not mistaken, there are damage abilities that cost essence. Yeah, Disintegrate does. So more disintegrates, and then we have 5 points to spend. So we kind of just have to work straight down. Disintegrate deals 20% more damage. And then there's no way for us to get all the way to here, I don't think. Oh, actually there is. We could work our way over. Because we could take this, like, so we can go... So Rewind is the really good ability. It has 2 charges. Or its cooldown is reduced by 60 seconds, making it a 3 minute instead. We'll do the cooldown reduction, and then your healing is increased. And then Cycle of Life. So we'll do something like that. I really think Time of Need is going to be good too, but... And just all this stuff in general. Echo lasts longer, Time Dilation lasts longer. I feel like Stasis is going to be the right choice. But we'll see what ends up happening. So we'll go with this, and then we'll see how it compares to like a build that's recommended on something like Icy Veins or Wowhead, right? So go ahead and apply these. And I will go ahead and, is there a way to like share this or make a new build? We'll do my first build. There we go. And we'll make that shared bars. And then now we are going to go like this and find, I'm going to go to Wowhead. Usually use Icy Veins, but Icy Veins, Wowhead, they usually are written by the same people or pretty close to it, so it's not the end of the world. We'll go ahead and go to Preservation Evoker, and we're going to go to Talent Builds. Raid Build, Key Talents. Is that... No, Key Talents means like what you want. Okay. So we'll look at Mythic Plus. Do they have a Mythic Plus thing? Evoker Mythic Plus build. Similar to Raid, Preservation misses out on a lot of key talents at level 60. Yeah, we definitely noticed that. So it'll play quite differently to how it does at level 70. Okay, cool. We do get a good opportunity to practice some fundamentals though, like cleaving through Leaping Flames. Awesome. We did end up taking this, I believe. Interrupting with Quell, opening each pole with a huge Fire Breath, and mastering Stasis use. I knew it. I've listed 2 builds below, so you can choose whatever you want to focus more, and having extra tools or dealing extra damage, both are viable, and at level 70 you'll be able to grab most of both builds at the same time. Cool, awesome. Healing Focus Mythic Plus build. The Healing Focus build adds a few extra tools for us to keep our group alive, like Erasure and Emerald Communion. Life bind, erasure, blah, blah. I'm not going to read all that. Talent build. So this is the healer focus build. So it ends up going to stasis like we saw, but it skips out on a lot of the damage increasing talents like this and energy loop and life force mender. And it also doesn't end up taking Terror of the Skies in favor of more restoring health talents and stuff like that. Damage focus Mythic Plus build. The damage focus build features key DPS talents like Life Force Mender, which we took, that greatly increase the damage of Living Flame through each dungeon. You'll increase the power of your most important DPS combo in Fire Breath, Living Flame. Yep. All right, let's see where they ended up with this. So here is our talents. I'll try to, I don't know if there's going to be a way. We'll go ahead and go like this. And then I think I can just make this smaller. And then we'll go back to the browser. So this is our first one here, like so. Okay, so I worked down the middle like this. And they went immediately down like this. And they skipped out a lot of this stuff in the middle, which makes sense, especially with how little points we have and stuff like that. But, for the most part, we almost made it there. There's a couple talents that we took instead, and it looks like it's mostly just this middle stuff we ended up taking, which is just more utility and damage reduction stuff, and instead they replaced that with more healing-oriented stuff that's down here towards this side, because you get like green heals spells increase how much healing they do. Emerald Blossom instantly heals you, and you get you get rescue. We definitely want that to troll people, so we definitely need to rethink our talents and go ahead and do this. And then on the other side of the tree, we can go like this, and then we can compare. And let's see where we ended up. So obviously stasis was taken. We kind of saw that coming. They didn't end up taking this, and it's so that they could reach this middle talent here, and it looks like they also wanted to get this. Verdant increases the healing of your next Living Flame. Okay, so more increased healing on like a single target. And gain a 30% chance for one of your Fluttering Seedlings to grow into a new Emerald Blossom. Oh, that's pretty cool. Okay, cool. So we'll just go ahead, and I will go ahead and trust this. Though they don't have Flow State talented, which is a little bit odd, so we may end up changing a couple things. But I do like the idea of where they're going with this build, so we'll go ahead and export this, and then we'll go in game. We will import, and we will paste it, and then just call it Mythic Plus. There we go, a couple changes. It's probably a good idea to take Stasis anyway, so that we can get used to casting it, because it seems like not necessarily a complicated spell, but it seems like it requires some kind of practice to kind of get good and understanding it. So, cool. So now we will go ahead and set up our bars, and then I think we are good to go. And I'll go ahead and talk through as I set up the rest of these buttons. We have Cauterizing Flame, which is another cleanse ability, so that's a little bit awkward because my control 1 is usually bound to world markers on the floor. I don't know where I'm going to put this. But I think it's a 1-minute cooldown that cleanses bleeds. I think we'll put it where I used to have my Kyrian file, and we'll just have to get used to pressing that. It'll be a little bit awkward, but we'll go ahead and do that. And then let's see, we have Landslide, which is that right there, and it roots everybody. So that will be Shift E, because that's where I usually put kind of like stuns or roots. I have like Entangling Roots there. I have like Capacitator Totem, like things like that. So it's not perfect, but I think it'll work. And then this is just our defensive ability. So this goes on G. That's where I always have my defensive abilities, or my personal cooldown rather. And then if I have another one, I put it on Shift G usually. All right, and then we have Quell, which is our interrupt. That goes on R. May have to change that up though, depending on what other buttons we have. And then we have Rescue. This is the actual life grip ability, so I think with Rescue, we will put that on F. And then, like I mentioned, with Verdant Embrace, that's just the fly to an ally and heal them. We'll put that on where I have Wild Charge as a Resto Druid, because it makes sense for me. And then we have Tip the Scales, compress time to make your next empowered spell cast instantly. That will be essentially like Nature's Swiftness for both Resto Druid and Resto Shaman. So I'll put this on T because that's where I have that. You obviously don't copy where I'm putting these buttons, but that's why I'm mentioning what other buttons I put them on. Like, so, Tip the Scales I'm saying is like Nature's Swiftness for Resto Druid and Resto Shaman, because if you play those classes, you should put this button on where those buttons are if you play those other classes. So it looks like we're done with the Evoker stuff, so now we just need more preservation buttons. So we have Reversion, which is like basically like a Riptide. This is going to be like a very spammable heal that we're pressing constantly, that we're using every time it charges up. And what is this buff that we get? Just showing, oh, Empower Spells. Is it just tracking? What is it tracking though? It's just tracking the heal on us? Why? I wonder why it's doing that. It doesn't make much sense. Unless there's a reason to track it, I don't really see. Oh, I guess because our other abilities get buffed if people have reversion on them, so it's nice to know the duration and stuff. Okay, we'll get around to that. Rewind, 4-minute cooldown, rewind, 50% of damage taken by all allies. So this would be on a button like, I would honestly say this is like Spirit Link Totem or something like that. So because we don't have, let's see, I'm trying to think. Seems like we don't have any really big cooldowns, so I'm going to put this on V, because that's where usually my cooldowns like Ascendance are, or like I have Wings there for Holy Paladin, stuff like that. And then we have Spirit Bloom. Divert spiritual energy, healing an ally for 10,000. Splits to injured allies within 30 yards when empowered. So that's an empower ability like so. And it just does a bunch of healing to people on a 30-second cooldown. So that'll probably be on something like 2, I guess, because we don't really have... It seems like Living Flame is kind of our flash heal and our Holy Light. If we're thinking of like a Holy Paladin, it's like our big and little heal. It looks like we don't have 2 buttons. So we'll just put that there as like our big heal. And then Living Flame is like our spammable stuff, our spammable heal. And then we have Stasis. Causes your next 3 helpful spells to be duplicated and stored in a time lock. You may reactivate Stasis at any time within 30 seconds to quickly unleash their magic. So I think I would put this... that's a tough one, because there's not... a 1.5-minute cooldown. I think I would honestly put this on like maybe like a mouse wheel button. Or like Shift 2 would kind of make sense for me. What does this do? So this is basically our external cooldown. So this will go on Shift Spacebar, time dilation. This is basically where I put like Iron Bark, Earth Shield, Blessing and Sacrifice, stuff like that. And then Stasis is going to be probably on Shift 2, it looks like. Could also put... Yeah, Shift 2 makes the most sense. Shift 2 is like where I put kind of random buttons that don't necessarily fit, but they're part of my rotation. So other examples is I have like Life Bloom on Shift 2. I have stuff like that. And then I think that is it for all of our spells. I don't have a button on 3. So I think what I might end up doing, just to get use out of 1, 2, and 3, because obviously we want those buttons to have something on them, is I think I'm going to put Living Flame on 3. So that's like our spammable spell. And then we'll put Stasis on 1, and that'll just be like a... Yeah, we'll just do that for now. This class is gonna be so weird to play. There's so much like going on with its resource management and stuff like that. It'll be really interesting though. But none of my charge spells are working, so we're gonna have to figure that out. So I'm gonna kind of troubleshoot that for a little bit, and then I think we'll be ready to do like our first dungeon. So we'll see how that goes.
So after looking through my talents and setting up my keybinds, I went and did the Dragonflight intro quests and some of the pre-patch invasions for a handful of new upgrades, which would bring us to our first dungeon as an evoker. After this, I'll probably be waiting till Dragonflight to play again, so stay tuned as the next episode we level up and get into some Mythic Zero dungeons with pugs in the new expansion.
It's our first actual dungeon run. I'm sure this is just like on basically like normal difficulty, it seems like, so it'd be pretty much a breeze. I need to be getting in the habit of actually pressing my disintegrate to spend my essence as well. Which was, I believe, the Shift A keybind. Yeah, there it is. Okay, definitely did some damage, that pull. Mostly deep breath and fire breath. And when I get these procs right here, that's when I also press Disintegrate if I'm just focusing on doing damage, because it makes the essence cost free.
What's this? Intruders here to take our riches, I bet! Have we found any witches? We've been digging down here so long, I can't even think straight.
No one steals from us! Time to teach these lunkheads a lesson!
Oh, those are bosses. I didn't mean to.
How to throw them!
Did somebody order a skull kraken?
I've got ya! Time to move this thingy! Now the party's starting! Here we go!
Did somebody order a skull kraken? Hop in and let... Okay, we give up.
You know, I think that tussle actually helped clear my head. Much obliged, strangers. We'll lend you a hand after we get our bearings.
I think also just putting Living Flame on a second button will help me with dealing damage, because right now, like, I instinctually want to press a different button when I'm doing healing versus damage, because I'm so used to every other healer in the entire game. So... Oh, we get 278s out of this dungeon. That's huge. Big damage. That's actually so much damage. What? Wow. Ow. I thought they would have pulled it by now. That's my fault. Alright, here's our first boss.
The chief here. Gonna smash you. Get out here.
Actually, we just did a boss. Never mind, I lied. Got the little dwarves are bosses too.
Now you're gonna be sorry. Stonebolt Trogs, attack! No fair. Bromark always wins.
There we go. Upgrades.
Nice work. That Trog has been a real pest.
We know how to open the door, but that ugly rockhead always kept us out.
Want to see something nifty? What's this? That did it. Now let's see what we can find inside.
We have deep breath ready again. Not a lot of stuff to attack though, so I guess we're just pressing it.
Locked door.
Leave this to me. Steel charge! Oh, my head. Well, at least this lunkhead got the door open. You better go on while Olaf recovers.
Halt! The unworthy will not enter this hallowed place. Keeper Tyr's secrets will be protected.
Looks... Okay, that's bad. It looks like a soak, but also doesn't.
Halt! You will go no further. Let the unworthy be purged. His memories are not for you.
Some kind of library. Hey, what now?
Well, I want a ring.
All I see are books.
Maybe we can find a few treasure maps. We'll have a look while you go on ahead.
Activating additional defenses. Target acquired. Enemy marked. System shut down.
Ooh, and we got a belt.
Whoa! Look at all this stuff!
The heroes, you can keep searching for whatever it is you folks are after. Yeah, we're calling dibs on this room. Safe travels all. to deny your queen her prize. The disc you seek will be mine. This disc may hold the secret to the aspects regaining their power, and we cannot allow that to happen. Now the disc is lost to time, just as you are about to be. In all timelines, you failed to stop me. You will be lost in time. You cannot even comprehend the infinite possibilities. The sands will scour you from this timeline. You will be lost in time. You cannot even comprehend the infinite possibilities. Lost in the sands. Your efforts are impressive, but in vain. The timelines are converging. There will be only one aspect, and Murasang shall be infinite!